Welcome to Betting on Success, a podcast that dives into the future of gaming with a focus on cashless technology. Hosted by Mark Morton, aka Morty. From cashless innovations to incredible career stories, this is where gaming professionals stay ahead. Betting on Success is brought to you by your friends at Marker Tracks and Coin, leading the way in cashless gaming.
Welcome to Betting on Success. I'm Mark Morton, and I am super proud to have a close personal friend of mine today with me, who I am super proud of what he's accomplished from a professional standpoint, but even more so from a personal standpoint in the gaming community. So I want to introduce Dan Ingster, Vice President, Gaming Operations, Seminole. Dan, thank you for showing.
Yep, Vice President of Gaming Operations, Seminole Hard Rock. Absolutely.
A little shake with a hand, huh? Come on, Dan.
Sorry.
Come on. Yeah, come on. Hey, thank you very much.
So comfortable with you.
I know.
We go back so long.
I know, way too long. Hey, well, thank you for being here today. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about you personally, and then I really want to dive into St. Baldrick's with you today. So let's get started with Dan as a young guy. I saw a picture from your 50th birthday 2 weeks ago of you at a slot machine at, I don't even know, how old were you then?
I think I was eight or 9 years old on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Wearing my three-piece suit. And my dad gave me a bucket of quarters and said, "Here, go play some slot machines." Apparently that was allowed.
Yeah, Dad. So was gaming always something that
you would appreciate that, an old Bally machine?
Oh, of course I would. Yeah. Yeah, my alma mater is where you're on. Was it a Blazing Sevens or what was it, I wonder?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Yeah. All right, so raised East Coast, so correct?
Absolutely. Philadelphia, go Birds.
Yep. So family still back there?
Not much. Not much. Not a lot of close family still around.
Yeah.
But still some family in Philadelphia.
And in your spare time, you're huge. I know you're a degenerate, right? Eagles, anything Philadelphia.
Yeah. Philadelphia sports, but no, spare time now is my son.
Yeah.
I mean, spare time now is soccer. That's about it. So my son Daniel, 8 years old, and about everything he does is soccer related. So
yeah.
Now it's soccer. Now I'm learning a lot more about European soccer.
There you go. So
World Cup coming up.
Yeah, and you were just at the Olympics. I saw some pictures of you in the Olympics.
Yeah. Took him over there. It was a 50th birthday celebration, so we spent a week in Italy. If you ever get a chance, the Olympics are amazing.
It looked awesome. Married, obviously.
Married, yeah. My wife, Melissa.
You kicked it way past the coverage, as they always say about me.
I
know
way
that.
Past.
She's phenomenal. So,
yeah.
And how long have you guys been married now?
You're going to put me on the spot. It was 2013, so just about 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years this summer.
So I was trying to – my wife Shelly and I were talking about this last week, or the week of your party, and we were talking about – because we were at the reception – but we couldn't remember where it was at. You did a reception.
We did an engagement party at Gold Lounge.
Okay.
Which was that was a great turnout, just like the birthday party the other day. You know,
yeah, phenomenal.
I'm lucky to have so many good people in my life that come out to support.
Yeah.
And come to those events. But that was 2000. That would have been early 2013.
Yeah, it impressed me. I think I touched on this with you when we were together that night. Super proud of the dad you become, Dan. I mean, it was very obvious from the people around you. You've got a ton of great friends, but the most important thing we do in our lives, right, is our kids.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and I started a little bit later in life, but I think I had the best teacher. You may have met my dad one time at the when we used to play the Christmas football games.
My God!
But yeah,
I forgot about those. Yeah,
My dad used to come out and take pictures, and I think the year after he passed, it was the honorary Dan Ingster Sr. Christmas Football Bowl. But yeah, no, my dad. I was raised in Philadelphia by my dad, single dad. Didn't really know my mom, and my grandmother helped for a while, but she passed when I was young and of cancer, as we'll talk a little bit more about later. But yeah, my dad. It was me and my dad. We did everything together. Best friend, and he taught me what to do. He taught me how to be a dad.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question about that, because I always want to understand, and I'm going to talk about some of your professional mentors when we get into your career, but. Mm-hmm. Your dad sounds like was the deciding factor for you growing up and kind of your direction in life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, no question. I mean, I think about him every day. Again, my dad had just turned 20 the week before I was born. My mom left a couple years later, and so he was a early 20-something-year-old raising a kid, had no idea what to do, never finished high school. He was a roofer.
Wow.
Ended up owning his own company for at least 30 years. And doing roofing, but he worked really hard every day, and made sure I didn't know that we didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I hear stories, especially after he passed away, the stories that people tell me about him eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day so that he could get me in Philadelphia, a cheesesteak or,
right.
or pizza or something better to eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was an amazing guy, and even though we didn't have a lot of money, he was still always generous.
Yeah.
Right. He would pay for everybody when we went out, or if I had friends over, and so he just taught me to be a good person.
Yeah. It's so funny. I just got chills by you saying that, because that was my dad, right? We had very little money, but I never felt poor, right? I never felt poor, and he always was waging, not much to my dismay of my wife now, because I tend to always want to overspend. But I learned that from my dad, and I can tell by the look on your face.
Absolutely. I said, I have the money. I can spend it now. It's tough, though. I'm torn with my son. I don't want him to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to spoil him too much.
Right.
I want him to know what it's like to work hard and how to make it in life.
Yeah.
So it's but then he's my son, so I'm going to spoil him.
Cave all the time. All right. So college, you went to school in?
Went to Cornell.
Yep.
I'll give you the quick version. I went to a prep school in Boston, which Phillips Academy Andover, which was basically like a college. Went to play hockey. Went to Canada for a couple of years and played ice hockey in Canada after that, and then realized I wasn't really going to make it in ice hockey, so I figured I better get a good education, get a good job. So then I went to Cornell, graduated Cornell hotel school, and moved to Vegas.
So who brought you out? Because there's a lot of people from Cornell that have come out to Vegas.
Nobody. I moved out without a job.
Yeah.
I lived here for the first 3 months. I put rent on a credit card because I couldn't find a job.
Yeah.
At that time, it was hard to get a job in Vegas if you didn't live here. So I tried before I moved here, and I couldn't get a job, but I still wanted to try it. And after 3 months, Andre and Charlotte Carrier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Andre was the head. They were both the head of the Cornell Alumni Association, and they introduced me to the gaming business and the casinos and people, and sent me to meet with Bellagio and Mirage and TI, and ended up getting a job at TI working for your friend Will Sherman.
Yep. Yeah. I love Will.
And
yeah.
So Will is the guy that Andre and Charlotte helped a lot, and then Will got me into the gaming business.
And you started then in slots right from the beginning.
Started in slots. The exact quote when I got to Vegas was, "No way in hell am I going to work in gaming." I wanted to work in hotel marketing. I wanted to use my hospitality degree, although gaming is still hospitality. But I needed a job, and Will offered me a graveyard slot attendant job. And I did that. Followed Will over to New York when he went to New York, and I was with MGM for 11, 12 years. And yeah, they took very good care of me.
Yeah, and you worked with a lot of great people during. I always call it kind of I know it's the greatest slot group I've ever been part of. I mean, you guys had so many super talented people that you worked around, right? So
absolutely,
impact of anybody out of that.
I think all of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really, people ask about a mentor. I don't have one particular mentor because I try to take the good things from everybody.
Right.
I try to learn something from everybody. But those years I was very lucky with, from Tom Mikulich and Steve Zanella, Patrick Miller, who I worked for a long time, and still very close with, and still, is a go-to that I'll ask questions to. And then just, Justin Beltram and Rick Luthi and Mike DeYoung and, the crew that, Aaron Rosenthal, I could just keep naming names. The crew that we had at MGM was amazing.
Well, and what you guys have all accomplished too, right? I mean, you look around and everybody is a super overachiever. I mean, it's very consistent with what you see out of that group.
I feel like I'm at the bottom.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. But from an expectation when you were there, was it different, or was the expectation, I mean, super high, or how why do you?
No,
why do you think that all happened for that group?
I think everybody just got along really well. Like you said, it was a lot of smart people, a lot of people to learn from.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that wanted to share knowledge. I mean, I never directly worked for Tom Mikulich, but I learned a lot from him,
Right.
even though I never worked directly for him, because it kind of just all went through the company. And I think we ran a pretty good we ran some good properties back then,
No doubt.
and just learned from everybody.
So you're there for a number of years, and then all of a sudden you move directly to Seminole, or where did you had to stop in between?
Yeah, I had to stop with Rocket Gaming.
That's right.
I was vice president of sales for Class 2 slot machines with Rocket Gaming for a couple of years, and Rocket's not around anymore. Ron Harris brought me in there, and Robert Del Rossi, and they were great. It was really good to learn that side of the business. Not a lot of people start on the operator side, go to the manufacturer side, then
Correct.
go back to the operator side. So, I had a much better respect for what the manufacturers do, for the salespeople.
Yeah.
Right. I would hope most people would say I'm very nice to salespeople now,
You always have been, yeah.
because I know what it's like being on the other side of that desk. But yeah, it was a great experience. I learned about game design, game development, game math. And then, most importantly, probably visited 250 tribal casinos in the 2.5 years I worked there. So I just got to learn the industry a lot more than just being on the Las Vegas Strip like I had been before that.
And you worked with some great people there. I mean, Terry Daly was there.
Terry
correct?
was there, yeah.
And
Terry's
Charlie
great.
Lombardo was
And
active there too, right?
Charlie was very, very active. And, you talk about mentors. I mean, Charlie
Yeah.
is a huge mentor. I talked to Charlie probably a lot more than he wants to talk to me. He's still involved. He still helps out the Seminoles quite a bit. And he helps us working on all these projects that we're doing and all the properties that we're building, and he's amazing. I mean, the experience and the knowledge that he has is, and he loves. I love that I can debate with him.
Correct.
And I can try to argue against him. He wins most of the time, but
Yeah.
But yeah, absolute another great mentor.
Bobby Manns, was he there too?
No, he had already passed before I got there.
Yeah. That
Heard a lot of great things about him.
Well, that group is who taught me gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie, Bobby, and Terry is how I learned it.
Yeah,
1991.
Don't get much better than that.
No, special guys.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at Rocket now. How do you get to Seminole? So tell me how that happens.
You know what? Again, luck, being in the right place at the right time, and also part of the benefit of being at Rocket was being out and visiting these properties.
Right.
And we had been working with Hard Rock Tampa a bit and meeting with them, and then found out the position came open. And Pete Wu was the GM there, and he was actually a Cornell grad, so we had a little bit of a connection from that. And I'd been talking to Pete about the changes they were going through, and he basically didn't think I was interested in going back to operations
Right.
because I was on the manufacturer side. And I said, well, a property like Hard Rock Tampa, I'd like to look at that. And and I got lucky enough to get hired there. And now I'm going on. I was at Tampa for 7 years, been in the corporate role for the last 3.5 years. So I'm over 10 years with
Wow.
the Seminoles now.
Yeah, it goes by fast.
It goes by so fast.
Way too fast. So now that you're more on the corporate side, do you miss the property side?
Yeah, there are pluses and minuses. I mean, it was the same thing when I went to the manufacturer side too. I really miss the people.
Yeah.
It's I miss being able to get out of my office and go walk the casino floor, talk to the players, watch the players. I tell a lot of people you can only learn. Gaming is math and people.
Right.
That's all it is.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
relatively easy.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can do looking at all the numbers. You need to get out there and talk to the people. And I do miss that, both the team members and the players. But I try to do that. I travel around to the properties and try to do that a lot when I can. But that's the biggest thing I miss from being at a property.
Yeah, and right now your responsibility is huge, right? I mean, obviously Florida, dominant player, but you've got how many properties now outside of?
Yeah, we have 15 properties that I support right now. Hard Rock Las Vegas will be 16 when that opens.
Yeah.
And
It's gonna be special.
So I support all those properties, and it's great to work with the variety of people at all those properties and see all the different jurisdictions and how everything's different. And
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right, now I want to talk. Now, here's why I really want. And now I know how you get people to do this. I never realized you. I forgot you had a sales background, but you get a lot of people to shave their heads. Me for the second time this year coming up, right? So
Yeah,
I know
it's looking good. You need a haircut.
I do need a haircut. But tell me about St. Baldrick's, because I'll tell you, Dan, not because you're sitting here, but the work you've done and what you've been able to accomplish is absolutely phenomenal. So tell me about that and how you got started with it.
Yeah, again, I have the easy part of it, right? I about 15 years ago, this will be my 16th year shaving, and I worked with a John Quinn, who I worked with at Monte Carlo. Just said one year, "Hey, I'm doing this charity event. I'm shaving my head. Come do this with me."
Right.
I had no idea what it was, and it sounded fun. We can go have a few drinks and shave our heads, and so then I started reaching out to everybody that I knew for donations, and I think that first year I raised $3,500, which was a good amount.
Right.
And I was actually surprised at that. And it made me realize, well, number one, I learned about St. Baldrick's, and I learned what St. Baldrick's is about, and I'll talk about that in a second. But that I also realized that I'm not the kind of person, I'm a little bit emotional. I would have trouble going into a children's hospital and trying to work with the kids and keep them happy and do things like that. But I have no problem bugging everybody that I've ever met in my life to try to donate money to help these kids.
Yeah.
And so, you have to run with what you're good at. And I realized I'm good at that. And I have no shame in asking people for money for donations. It's not for me. It's for the St. Baldrick's Foundation. It's for the kids. The St. Baldrick's Foundation for 25 years has run head shaving events around the country. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. They fund childhood cancer research. I learned more about it as luckily, I haven't been directly affected by a child in a family having cancer, but I do have family members that were in their mid-20s, early 20s, which is still somewhat considered childhood cancer that have been affected. And I didn't realize how widespread it is. Some of the stats they put out there, 1 in 263 kids will have cancer. Yeah. And I think about the people I know 263 kids. Right. So one of them is going to have cancer at some point in their life. And when a child has cancer, it's a lot different than an adult. You don't catch it as early. There aren't as many programs for children that have cancer. There's not as much profit in drugs for childhood cancers. Right. So more of that funding goes to cancers that more adults get than kids. And when I learned all this and learned how much St. Baldrick's supports all these organizations and provides funding, provides grants for doctors and researchers that are doing all this work, now I really understand what an amazing organization it is. And I'm just happy to keep doing this as long as I have hair, right. to keep shaving to raise money. And even when I lose my hair, maybe I'll try to grow hair for a couple of months to see how funny that looks. But it's one of those things. It's a fun event. We do have a lot of fun. There's a lot of camaraderie and brotherhood in doing the events. But in the end, it's for a good cause. So
yeah, and you know what was amazing? You said the 1 in 263 because I read 400,000.
400,000, yeah.
I mean, that was just amazing. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I never realized that concerned me, which I guess St. Baldrick's also supports, is there's more chronic illness if you're a child that has it. So the support even after they survive is still pretty dramatic.
Right. The drugs are a lot harder on children's bodies than adults. So there's lingering effects that they deal with. One of the other things you don't think about until you see the numbers is they talk about the number of years of life lost. So, somebody's 70 years old and they get cancer, it's difficult, but they're getting towards the end of their life. But you have somebody that's 5 or 6 years old, there's a long life ahead of them. And, whatever we can do to help, and having Team Max Bet that we've had for the last 4 years, as we were just talking about before this, we've raised over $450,000. And one of the largest fundraising teams in the country, and it's I'm proud to be part of this industry that supports it and has so many people that have shaved their heads or donated to support St. Baldrick's.
Well, it's amazing to me too, right? Even though it's a very competitive industry, it's a very close-knit industry too, right? Mm-hmm. So some of the people that you've got to shave their heads is pretty amazing, right? I mean, Tom Gingoli, who had, has got a great Casey Whalen, who's got a great.
That was one of the best heads of lettuce that we ever got.
And tell me about Brian McMullen, because he's part of the gaming industry now, kind of out of it, but in the bar industry. Right. But he was and still is unbelievably active, right?
Yeah. Brian and Lynn McMullen own McMullen's Irish Pub. They've hosted the events, or for 19 years they've hosted events, so I only missed the first couple. Lynn sent me the number this morning, so unfortunately I didn't see the number of what their total amount raised has been, but I know now they raise about $500,000 a year just at their one head shaving event, and they've done it in 19 years. Their daughter, Kyra, they lost to cancer when she was 2 years old.
Yeah.
So they do this to honor her, and they're the most amazing people, and they run the most amazing event at McMullen's.
You have a lot of great friends. We talked about that before, and I think talking to you today, it's obvious why. I mean, obviously, you're super busy. I mean, you're traveling all the time. I mean, for you to put in the time that you do with this, tell me, I mean, why did it become such a love of your life, I guess you would say?
I think, again, it's just it was something honestly relatively easy for me,
right,
that I can do and make a difference.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be remembered for something. I want to make a difference. I don't care how many slot machines I put out there or table games or what I do with that business, but I'd much rather be remembered as the person that helped the team raise $450,000 to help childhood cancer.
Well, it's funny, right? Because that typically is my last question. Like, how do you want to be remembered, right? And it's funny that you already got there. Let me ask you another question. So, just somebody young like you, right? I mean, getting into this industry, what advice would you give to somebody that's just coming up like you did, coming from the East Coast to someplace you've never been to before, maybe have been to but knew really nobody? I mean,
right. I had been here,
yeah,
but didn't know many people. A couple things. I really love the way that my career path went. And starting at the bottom, starting as a slot attendant, starting on the graveyard shift, some of the slot attendants and the slot techs back then were so great in teaching me everything because it was slow on graveyards. So I just had a lot of time to teach me. And but then as I moved up through the ranks, I really understood what they're facing. And I can still talk to the team, and I can talk to the slot attendants and slot techs and understand what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so, one thing I would, some friends of mine even, I know, wanted to skip right to be the boss.
Right.
And so one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give is to not be afraid to start from the bottom.
Right.
And work your way up. And if you're smart and if you work hard, you will make it. You will move up. But you need to understand that side of it. And then the other side of it is, you probably know this about me too from some of the events I do, is networking.
Right.
I guess I like people. Like
you
I said,
do.
I'm a nerd. I love the numbers. And I say that's why I think I like the business so much. Is, again, I love numbers, love the analytics, but I also like people. And I think you've been to my VIGS event on the Monday of G2E, and we'll get a couple hundred people there, and for no reason other than let's get everybody together. And the best part of it is when people come up to me afterwards and say, I'm so glad that you got us all together because I'm never in a room with this person, and I haven't seen this person in a couple years. And I love to facilitate that. And it's a little selfish on my part because then everybody kind of comes to me and I get to see everybody as well. But networking is so important, right? It's about who means a lot. And if you're a good person and you get to know a lot of people, doors will open.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because I was out of the business for 5 years, and that's what I miss most of all, were the people, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, because you are around so many really good, solid people. And I think that sometimes the gaming industry gets kind of a bad rap about what we do and who we are, but when you dive into the people, just phenomenal, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, going back to St. Baldrick's and the team, I think we've had 34 people that have shaved over the last few years, raised $450,000. And just the fact that people do that, this year it's going to be right before IGA. So people are going to shave their heads and show up at IGA bald. Last year or 2 years ago, the last one we had was right before G2E.
Yeah.
So people showed up even worse at in between, bald and hair, and then there's the in between, which is difficult. And the fact that people don't care about that and are so caring and generous and to do this, it is a great industry. I love it, and the people. And one of the things living in Florida, I miss Vegas because because this is such the core of it. So I'm glad we have the property opening here, so I'll get to spend a lot of time here and see you and everybody else that I know out here.
Yeah, no, it really is phenomenal. All right, so turned 50, right? You're the same guy that I remember when you were really young, right? I mean, you really haven't changed much.
I hope I'm a little more mature.
Yes, but I still see the twinkle in your eye that you still got a little bit of that in you, right?
I told Patrick Miller this morning that if I were him and I was working for him at that time or working for me, I would have fired myself 100 times. So I'm glad that he didn't. But I'd like to think I've grown up a bit since then. But I still love the business. I still love what I do. I still love the people. So. That's the other thing. If you want advice for people coming up, is make sure you love it.
Right.
If you love it, it's not a job. Kerry O'Donohue, KO. He was one. He was another one. I forgot to throw his name out there, but he's one that taught me that. He used to say that all the time. He goes, "You've got to go somewhere for 40 to 60 to whatever 80 hours a week we do, right? You've got to be somewhere in a job. You might as well enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy what you're doing, go find something else that you do enjoy because you're going to have to do it."
Right.
And that always stuck with me too. That as long as I enjoy this job, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I want to say this. I said I was proud to know you when I introduced you today, and I really am, Dan. From, the guy that I knew way back when, even though you think you're a little bit immature, still a great guy. But to the dad, to the community leader that you've become, to a business leader. Super proud to have you on today. So I want to thank you again for joining me. Everybody, thank you for joining. I'm sure you're going to love the episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks for joining.
Yep, thanks for having me.
That's a wrap for this episode of Betting on Success. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more insights from gaming industry leaders. We'll see you next time.